In a world where casual prejudice and microaggressions often go unnoticed or unchallenged, it is easy to dismiss a single moment of disrespect as insignificant. However, moments like these, no matter how small, have a profound impact. They reveal the deep-seated biases that exist in society and highlight the resilience required to confront them. Today's story is one that explores this reality, showcasing the power of self-respect, quiet defiance, and the unexpected ripple effect that one person's courage can create. Imagine walking into a high-end café in the heart of a bustling city. The scent of freshly brewed coffee fills the air, mixing with the soft hum of conversation. Sunlight filters through large glass windows, casting a golden glow on sleek wooden tables and well-dressed patrons enjoying their midday breaks. Among them, a young waitress moves swiftly, balancing trays with effortless grace, her posture poised, her smile professional. She has done this job long enough to master the art of seamless service, of blending into the background while ensuring that everything runs smoothly. But today, she finds herself at the center of a cruel joke, a joke disguised as humor but laced with entitlement and malice. At a corner table near the window, for affluent women sit laughing, their designer handbags draped over the backs of their chairs, their polished nails tapping against their coffee cups as they talk animatedly. They do not see the waitress as an individual, as someone with dignity and feelings, but rather as part of the scenery, there to serve them and nothing more. When they mock her appearance and subtly degrade her with condescending remarks, they do so with ease, never considering the impact of their words. After all, who is she to challenge them? What they do not expect, however, is her response. With a simple yet powerful question, the waitress turns the situation on its head, forcing the women to confront their own behavior. Her calm, poised demeanor unsettles them, stripping away their false confidence and exposing the ugliness beneath their laughter. For the first time, they are left speechless, unsure of how to respond. This moment is not just about humiliation or revenge, it is about reclaiming power. It is about standing firm in the face of disrespect and reminding others that their words and actions have consequences. The ripple effect of this one encounter extends far beyond the café. It sparks reflection, guilt, and ultimately, change. One of the women, shaken by her complicity, begins to question her own role in perpetuating such behavior. Another, previously oblivious to the harm caused by small jokes, takes a stand in a situation she would have once ignored. The waitress, who has spent years enduring similar treatment, leaves work that day with a newfound sense of strength, knowing that she is not powerless in the face of prejudice. This story is a powerful reminder that change does not always come in grand gestures. Sometimes, it begins with a single moment, a quiet act of defiance, a refusal to shrink in the face of cruelty. It reminds us that the way we treat others matters, and that even those who seem oblivious to their own prejudices are capable of growth if they are forced to confront the truth. As we dive into this compelling narrative, we invite you to reflect on your own experiences. Have you ever witnessed a moment like this? Have you ever stayed silent when you should have spoken up? Or have you been the one to take a stand, challenging disrespect even when it was uncomfortable? Let's start a conversation. Share your thoughts in the comments below, your voice matters. And if this story resonates with you, if you believe in the power of standing up against prejudice, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you support stories that inspire, challenge, and encourage us to be better, to do better. Every like, every subscription, and every comment helps spread these important messages to a wider audience. Together, we can amplify voices that need to be heard, shed light on stories that might otherwise go untold, and encourage a world where kindness and respect prevail over ignorance and cruelty. So, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Let's continue this journey together, sharing and learning from moments that remind us of the power of integrity, courage, and compassion. Now, let's get into the story. Jasmine approached the table, her practiced smile unwavering, though she could already sense the energy radiating from the women before she reached them. Years of experience had fine-tuned her instincts, allowing her to pick up on the subtle cues, the smug glances, the slightly exaggerated laughter, the way people like this barely acknowledged her presence. She took a breath, grounding herself as she stopped at the edge of the table. "Good afternoon, ladies. What can I get for you today?" For a moment, the conversation continued as if she wasn't there, as if she was nothing more than a fixture in the café, standing idly, waiting to serve them. Finally, Lindsay, the one who sat at the center of the group, lazily turned her head toward Jasmine. Her cold blue eyes flickered over her before she returned to the conversation, barely making an effort to acknowledge her. "We'll have 4 iced caramel lattes," she said, her voice sharp, dismissive. It wasn't just an order, it was a command. Jasmine nodded, pen poised over her notepad. "Anything else?" Lindsay didn't respond. None of them did. They were already deep in their conversation again, their words brushing past Jasmine like she was nothing more than a shadow. Turning on her heel, Jasmine walked back toward the barista counter, but just as she passed the next table, the low murmur of voices reached her ears. "She's really trying, isn't she?" Jasmine's steps faltered, just for a fraction of a second, but she didn't turn back. "I mean, the hair, the posture, so eager to impress," another voice sneered. Laughter followed. Soft. Cruel. A sharp heat flared inside Jasmine's chest. Her grip on the notepad tightened, her knuckles whitening. The words weren't just condescending, they were meant to belittle, to make her small, insignificant. Years of working in places like this had taught her to let things roll off her back. She had perfected the art of smiling through discomfort, of maintaining her composure no matter how cruel the words whispered behind her back were. But today, something about the way they laughed, so effortless, so full of arrogant certainty, felt heavier than usual. As she reached the espresso machine, Erica, her coworker, glanced up from steaming milk, immediately picking up on her tension. "What happened?" Erica asked, frowning as she saw the tightness in Jasmine's expression. Jasmine exhaled through her nose, shaking her head slightly. "Same thing. Different day." Erica followed her gaze to the group of women and let out a quiet scoff. "Them again. They always act like they run the place." Jasmine nodded, rolling her shoulders, forcing the tension to ease out. She wouldn't let them get under her skin. Not today. Focusing on the drinks, she moved through the familiar motions, pulling the shots, steaming the milk, drizzling caramel into the cups. But the words still clung to her, like an echo that refused to fade. By the time she returned to the table, her expression was unreadable once again, her posture flawless. She carefully set each latte down in front of them. The women barely acknowledged her. Except Lindsay. She watched Jasmine as she placed the last cup on the table, and just as Jasmine turned to walk away, Lindsay smirked. "Thanks, sweetheart," she said, her voice sickeningly sweet. Then, tilting her head slightly, she added, "You know, if you smiled more, you'd probably get better tips." A silence stretched over the table. The other women smirked, sipping their drinks, their eyes flickering toward Jasmine like she was a source of entertainment. Jasmine's fingers tightened around the tray. She had heard comments like this 100 times before. Maybe 1,000. A suggestion dressed as advice, coated in sugar but laced with venom. Normally, she would have just walked away. But not today. She set the tray down slowly, deliberately. And then she straightened, looking Lindsay directly in the eyes. Is there anything else I can do to make you feel more comfortable? Her voice was calm, smooth as glass, but beneath it was something sharper. The laughter died instantly. Lindsay's smirk flickered, her expression freezing for just a second before she recovered. Her friends exchanged uneasy glances, the once light-hearted energy at the table shifting. Jasmine didn't move. She didn't lower her gaze, didn't shrink under their scrutiny. She simply stood there, waiting. The silence stretched unbearably long. Lindsay's fingers tapped against the side of her cup, as if trying to grasp onto the confidence that had been so effortless moments ago. She licked her lips slightly, eyes darting toward her friends, but they offered no support. Finally, she let out a stiff chuckle. No. We're fine. Jasmine gave a single, measured nod. Very well. Then, without another word, she turned and walked away, leaving them in their discomfort. Behind her, the once lively table had lost its vibrancy. The women weren't laughing anymore. Madison, the quietest of the group, stared down at her drink, suddenly no longer enjoying its sweetness. That felt weird, she murmured, barely above a whisper. Holly forced a laugh, but it sounded strained. She probably didn't mean anything by it. But even she didn't sound convinced. Madison couldn't shake the feeling twisting in her gut. She had laughed along, been complicit in the moment, but now all she felt was a deep, unsettling weight in her chest. She looked across the café at Jasmine, who was now effortlessly moving between tables again, as if nothing had happened. But Madison knew better. Something had shifted. Without another word, she stood. "I'll catch up with you guys later," she muttered and walked toward the counter, leaving her friends watching after her in confusion. Jasmine had just locked the back door of the café when she heard footsteps behind her. She turned to find Madison standing there, looking hesitant. "Hey," Madison started, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I wanted to apologize. We were completely out of line." Jasmine studied her for a moment. She had long learned not to expect remorse from people like Madison, but here she was. "Thank you," Jasmine said finally, her voice steady. "I appreciate that." Madison hesitated before adding, "I don't want to be that kind of person." Jasmine's lips curved into the smallest smile. "We all make choices. It's about what you do next that matters." Madison nodded, relieved. She left that night feeling lighter, but she knew one apology wasn't enough. She needed to do better. Meanwhile, Lindsay sat in silence, her thoughts replaying the moment in the café over and over. For the first time, she wasn't sure she liked the person she had been today. And that feeling wouldn't let her go. At the espresso machine, her coworker Erica, a fellow waitress, noticed her pause. "You okay?" she asked, concern lacing her voice. Jasmine hesitated before nodding. "Yeah, just the usual," she replied with a forced smile. Erica scoffed, rolling her eyes toward the group. "They come in all the time. Think they own the place. Don't let them get to you." Jasmine inhaled deeply, trying to shake off the sting of the women's words. She knew Erica was right, people like them walked into the café every day, acting as though the world revolved around them. Normally, she let their comments slide off her back like water, but today felt different. Sensing Jasmine's tension, Diego, another barista, chimed in from behind the counter. "Lemme guess," he said, pausing from steaming milk. "Corner table by the window." Erica nodded. "You already know." Diego let out a low whistle, shaking his head. "Man, those women are the worst. Always treating people like trash." He shot a glance toward Jasmine. "You good?" Jasmine exhaled slowly. "I will be," she said, though the weight in her chest still lingered. Erica leaned closer. "Hey, don't let them mess with your head. You're one of the best servers here. You handle rush hours like a pro, and customers actually like you, unlike them." Diego smirked. "Yeah, plus, if anyone should be embarrassed, it's them. Imagine being grown women acting like middle school bullies in a coffee shop." Jasmine chuckled slightly despite herself. "You're not wrong." "Damn right, I'm not," Diego replied, handing off a completed cappuccino. "Besides, you're way too classy for their nonsense. You got this." Before Jasmine could respond, Linda, the cafe's assistant manager, walked past, picking up on their conversation. "They're at it again?" she asked, arching a brow. Erica crossed her arms. "Of course. Same entitlement, same attitude." Linda huffed. "I swear, if they step out of line again, I'll handle it myself. Just say the word, Jasmine." Jasmine appreciated the support, but she knew the last thing she wanted was to make a scene. "Thanks, Linda. I can handle it." Linda softened. "I know you can. But remember, you don't have to deal with this alone." Jasmine nodded, feeling a little steadier. With her tray balanced and drinks ready, she took another breath before stepping back onto the floor. As she approached the table, she carried the warmth of her co-workers' support with her, letting their words settle in her heart. Whatever came next, she wasn't alone. And that made all the difference. Jasmine approached the table with careful precision, her warm but professional smile in place. She had learned to wear it like armor, a shield against the occasional rudeness that came with the job. "Good afternoon, ladies. What can I get for you today?" Her voice was polite, steady, firm but non-confrontational. The women barely acknowledged her presence. Lindsay, seated at the head of the group, lazily lifted her eyes to Jasmine before flicking her gaze back to her friends. With a casual wave of her hand, she spoke, her tone dismissive. "For iced caramel lattes," she said, not even bothering to look up again. Jasmine nodded, quickly noting down the order. As she turned to leave, the hushed whispers started. "She's so desperate for approval," Holly murmured, just loud enough for Jasmine to hear. Mia let out a soft giggle. "I know. It's like she's trying so hard to be, I don't know, presentable." "Trying being the keyword," Lindsay added, her voice dripping with amusement. "I mean, did you see her hair? It's just, so much." The laughter that followed was light, effortless, like they weren't speaking about a real person, like Jasmine wasn't standing just feet away, hearing every word. Her grip tightened on the notepad, fingers pressing hard against the paper. She had heard things like this before, many times over. Usually, she let them slide. But today, their words felt heavier, sharper, like tiny barbs digging into her skin. Jasmine turned toward the barista counter, keeping her steps even, her face unreadable. But her chest felt tight. Erica, her coworker, immediately noticed. "Okay, what happened?" she asked, glancing over at the group. Jasmine forced a breath. "They're just being," she hesitated, shaking her head. "Forget it." Erica's eyes narrowed. "Corner table." "Corner table," Jasmine confirmed. Diego, working behind the counter, let out a low whistle. "What did they say this time?" Jasmine didn't answer. She didn't need to. Diego scoffed. "People like them love feeling important by putting others down. Makes them feel like queens or something." "Yeah, well, I'd love to see them try working a single shift here," Erica muttered. "They wouldn't last an hour." Jasmine let out a quiet chuckle, but it didn't reach her eyes. Steadying herself, she prepared their drinks. The routine gave her something to focus on, grinding the espresso, steaming the milk, layering the caramel. It was familiar, predictable. Unlike the way people treated her. With the drinks finally ready, she balanced the tray in her hands and walked back to the table, her composure in place once again. She carefully set each latte down, ensuring everything was neat. The women barely noticed her, except for Lindsay, who had been waiting for her return. "Thanks, sweetheart," Lindsay cooed, her voice saccharine and mocking. Jasmine ignored the false sweetness in her tone and turned to leave. But Lindsay wasn't done. "You know," she continued, tilting her head as she pretended to examine Jasmine, "if you put just a little more effort into your appearance, you might actually look presentable." The table erupted in laughter. Jasmine's fingers tightened around the tray. Holly smirked, twirling her straw in her drink. "She's probably trying. I mean, this is probably the best she can do." Mia shrugged. "Not everyone can afford good hair products." The laughter swelled again, rising like a tide, washing over Jasmine, drowning her in their cruelty. Her face felt hot, her heart hammering in her chest. Every instinct told her to turn, to walk away, to swallow the anger and humiliation like she always did. But something inside her snapped. She set the tray down on their table, not harshly, but deliberately. Then she straightened, looking Lindsay dead in the eyes. "Is there anything else I can do to make you feel more comfortable?" Her voice was calm, controlled. But there was something beneath it, something steady and unyielding. The laughter died instantly. Lindsay blinked, caught off guard. Jasmine didn't lower her gaze, didn't flinch under their stares. The silence stretched between them, thick and uncomfortable. Madison, the quietest of the group, shifted in her seat, eyes flickering between Lindsay and Jasmine. Holly swallowed, looking suddenly unsure. For a moment, Lindsay hesitated. Then she scoffed, flipping her hair over her shoulder. "Relax," she said. "It was just a joke." "Yeah," Mia added, though her voice wasn't as strong as before. "Don't take it so personally." Jasmine tilted her head slightly. "A joke?" she repeated. Lindsay waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, come on. You know we didn't mean anything by it." Jasmine didn't react. Didn't smile. Didn't nod. She just let the silence sit there, let them feel the weight of their own words. And for the first time, they did. Lindsay huffed, suddenly restless. She reached into her bag, pulling out a few crumpled bills and tossing them onto the table. "Let's just go," she muttered. The others quickly followed, grabbing their things, avoiding Jasmine's gaze as they hurried toward the door. Jasmine watched them leave, not expecting an apology, not needing one. What mattered was that she had stood her ground. Erica appeared at her side, crossing her arms as she stared after the women. "Damn. That was the best tea." Dead himself with other disgraced cops who think the system owes them something. Daniels nodded. "Exactly. And whatever they're planning, it's personal. This isn't just about getting back at you, it's about proving that they still have control." Jessica sat back in her chair, considering the next move. "We need to know what they're up to. They won't just sit around nursing their grievances. They're going to act." Daniels tapped the folder. "We already have eyes on Dalton and Grayson, but Turner's been harder to track. He's been careful. No credit card transactions, no phone calls we can trace. He's staying off the radar." Jessica wasn't surprised. Turner knew they were watching him. He wasn't going to slip up easily. But he had made one crucial mistake, he had come after her first. He had made it personal, and now she was going to use that to her advantage. "We need to force his hand," she said. "If he's staying hidden, we have to make him feel like he's losing control. We need to push him out into the open." Daniels hesitated. "You have an idea?" Jessica's lips pressed into a thin line. "Yeah. I do." Later that night, Jessica sat alone in her living room, her laptop open in front of her. The plan was simple. Turner thought he was in control, but she was about to show him just how wrong he was. She typed up a short message, her fingers steady as she crafted the words. "To Officer Turner and his friends, you think you're untouchable, but we know what you're planning. We know where you've been, who you've been meeting with. You can run, but it won't change anything. The law is coming for you. And this time, there's nowhere left to hide." She stared at the message for a long moment before hitting send. The email was untraceable, routed through multiple servers, sent from an anonymous account. Turner wouldn't be able to track it back to her, but he would know exactly who it was from. And that was the point. She sat back, waiting. The message was bait. And she was about to find out just how desperate Turner really was. The response came faster than she expected. Less than an hour later, her phone buzzed. One new email. No subject. No sender information. She opened it, her pulse steady. "You're making a mistake. You think you're the hunter, but you're not." Jessica's jaw tightened. He had taken the bait. Daniels was waiting at the field office when she arrived, the email forwarded to his inbox. He read it over once, then again, his expression darkening. "He's rattled," he said. "But he's not backing down." Jessica nodded. "That's exactly what I wanted." Daniels looked at her carefully. "What's your next move?" Jessica exhaled. "We give him one last push." She pulled up the surveillance photos, her eyes narrowing at the timestamp. Dalton and Grayson had met Turner at an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city less than 12 hours ago. That was their base of operations. That was where they felt safe. She picked up her phone. "We bring them in." Daniels raised an eyebrow. "You think Turner will be there?" Jessica's gaze was cold. "If he's not, we make sure he has nowhere left to run." The raid was set for midnight. Tactical teams moved in silently, their weapons drawn, their movements precise. Jessica stood at the perimeter, her heart pounding as she listened to the radio chatter. "Moving in. 2 suspects spotted. Turner." A pause. "Negative. He's not here." Jessica swore under her breath. Turner was still one step ahead. But then. "We found something. You're going to want to see this." Jessica moved quickly, stepping into the warehouse. Dalton and Grayson were already in custody, their hands zip-tied behind their backs. But it wasn't them she was interested in. It was what they had left behind. Pinned to the wall, written in bold red paint, were 4 words. "You should be afraid." Jessica felt the chill run down her spine. Turner hadn't just anticipated their move, he had left them a message. Daniels appeared beside her, his face grim. "This isn't over." Jessica nodded, her jaw tight. "No. It's just beginning." 2 nights later, Jessica returned home late, her body exhausted but her mind sharp. The case was spiraling into something bigger than she had expected, but she wasn't backing down. Turner had made his move, and now it was her turn. She stepped inside, locking the door behind her. The house was quiet, Lila asleep upstairs. But something felt off. She took a slow step forward, her senses prickling. And then she saw it. A single envelope, resting on her coffee table. Her breath caught in her throat. She hadn't left it there. Her hands shook slightly as she picked it up, unfolding the letter inside. Only one sentence was written. "See you soon." Jessica's blood ran cold. Turner had been here. Inside her home. Her grip on the paper tightened. He had crossed a line he could never take back. And now, she was going to end this. Once and for all. The story of Jessica Carter and her confrontation with Officer Turner is more than just a narrative about power, justice, and accountability. It is a lesson in standing firm against intimidation, knowing when to fight back, and understanding the weight of responsibility when taking a stand. Jessica's journey, from being targeted to becoming the one in control, reminds me of the real-life struggles many people face when challenging authority, corruption, or even personal adversities. It resonates with the idea that power imbalances exist everywhere, whether in workplaces, communities, or relationships. The story teaches that courage isn't about being fearless, it's about recognizing fear and moving forward despite it. In my own life, I may not be up against corrupt officers or life-threatening danger, but I do encounter situations where I have to decide whether to stay silent or speak up. It might be in the form of calling out unfair treatment at work, addressing bias in social settings, or even standing up for someone who can't defend themselves. The way Jessica handled Turner, methodical, strategic, and unyielding, serves as an important reminder that facing adversity isn't about reacting impulsively, it's about making calculated decisions that ensure justice prevails. She didn't let her emotions cloud her judgment, she used them as fuel to drive her forward, a lesson that can apply to anyone dealing with challenges in life. The story also emphasizes the importance of preparation and awareness. Jessica knew Turner was dangerous, so she remained vigilant, never underestimating him. This highlights a crucial lesson: always be aware of your surroundings, both literally and metaphorically. In life, this means anticipating challenges before they arise, thinking ahead, and ensuring that you are never caught off guard. Whether it's in career advancement, financial planning, or personal safety, preparation is key to staying ahead of obstacles. Another critical takeaway from the story is knowing when to seek help. Jessica didn't try to handle Turner alone, she worked with Agent Daniels, gathered evidence, and used the system to fight back. This is a valuable lesson in understanding that no one succeeds alone. When facing difficulties, whether it's a toxic workplace, a legal battle, or even personal hardships, it's important to reach out to those who can support and guide you. Strength isn't just about standing alone, it's about knowing when to lean on others who can help you fight the battles you can't win alone. Most importantly, the story highlights resilience. Jessica didn't let fear dictate her actions. Even when Turner escalated his threats, she didn't retreat, she pushed forward. In life, setbacks and challenges are inevitable, but what matters is how we respond. Whether it's facing rejection, failure, or an unfair situation, the key is to keep moving forward, to stay true to your principles, and to never allow intimidation to dictate your path. Applying this to my own life, I see the importance of being proactive rather than reactive. It's easy to ignore problems or hope they go away, but real change comes from action. Jessica didn't wait for Turner to stop, she forced him into a position where he had no control. In the same way, I need to take charge of the situations I face, rather than waiting for circumstances to improve on their own. If there's an issue at work, address it. If there's an injustice happening, speak up. If there's a personal goal I want to achieve, I need to take action rather than waiting for the perfect moment. At the heart of the story is a message about integrity. Jessica stood her ground, not just for herself, but for every person who had suffered under Turner's abuse. This is a reminder that doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's necessary. In my own life, I need to remember that standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult, is always the right choice. Whether it's defending someone being mistreated, making ethical choices in difficult situations, or simply staying true to my beliefs, integrity should always guide my actions. The best advice I can take from this story is simple but powerful: stay aware. Stay prepared. Seek support. Stand your ground. Never back down when it comes to doing what's right. Whether in small everyday struggles or in life-changing decisions, these principles will always serve as a guide toward strength and resilience.